Black Adam came from, and then next minute we're just gonna get cheesy and make you laugh because we don't want to freaking force all these jokes down your freaking throat like Donovan Dunner did, and that's why it's a flipping disaster. It's like one of the worst movies of all time, honestly. So like, it just really was, Black Adam just really was a movie that I actually recommend. And like, man, if we're gonna go even further here, like you had that Henry Cavill cameo, which was absolutely fantastic.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the James Ramblin' Show, coming at you live on Friday night. Tonight's your host, James May.
Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Show. It feels a bit weird because I never had an episode last week. I'll dive into that. But this week, I'm actually going to be giving you a Black Adam review and Halloween, which is an interesting combination. Like, you have Black Adam, which has nothing to do with Halloween, but, because actually I'm doing this double set, like, I'm doing a double whammy this week for the James Ramblin' Show Ramblin' reviews, right? Because, I want to do something for later October, but I want to get House of the Dragon out of the way. And the reason why there was no episode last week or whatever, it's because I tried to do something with this idea that I had in mind, and then it didn't go that well because it wasn't enough material. Like, I just talked about something, and there was stuff there that wasn't able to drag on for a solid amount of minutes. It wasn't your average 20-minute podcast, right? So I never actually followed up on it. So yeah, there's that. But I'm gonna dive into Black Adam probably for the next 5 minutes, because I want to just freaking rant or rave about this movie because I just want to talk about it. So let's dive into Black Adam, which I just saw tonight. So Black Adam, this is the recent installment into the DCEU, which is this whole franchise of, you have your Superman, Man of Steel, the Justice League, Suicide Squad, and all that stuff. So you have that, but then you get Black Adam, where The Rock becomes this anti-hero sort of thing, where he isn't actually a villain, but he isn't actually bad either, because what he achieves to do is kind of like trying to save the day in some respects, but really it's not a hero story, but it still has hero aspects, if that makes sense. And people have said that Black Adam is like this really bad movie, and the critics saying it's like 4 out of 10, the 44, whatever the frick was saying. Nah, this movie is awesome. This movie is fun. It's exciting. You're getting what you want here. This is what you want from a freaking blockbuster movie right here. You want to have fun. You don't want to be sitting there thinking about the meaning of life because you've had some movies like The Eternals where it's like, oh, we are the gods of the universe and we... No, that is not what a move, especially a superhero flick where you're going to have action and stuff like that. Who cares about that? You're just going to be wasting too much time and you're going to bore the hell out of people. Just give them some action, alright? You know what I mean? So, like, that is what Black Adam is really good at, is that you just have a lot of fun action that goes down. It's just like, let's turn your brain off for a minute and let's just have some fun here. Who cares about the plot? And that's definitely Black Adam is. And I will say that we definitely have a good cast here. Like, you have Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. You have The Rock, who's actually amazing, right? He's an amazing actor in this movie. He really does show, like, he really does prove to the audience that this guy can actually act like a character that is actually kind of interesting. despite the fact that this is not it doesn't have a new twist to this superhero genre. It just has that villain sort of aspect to it. Villain vs hero, and then you have all that stuff in it, and then you have the cheesy humour, but it definitely kicks the absolute living shit out of things like Thor Love and Thunder, where you're just joking about everything under the sun. You're having all this garbage being thrown at you. You don't really get what's going on. But with Black Adam, it kicks the shit out of that, because you're gonna have that sad backstory where it was the depressing enslavement of this place that Black Adam came from, and then next minute we're just gonna get cheesy and make you laugh because we don't want to freaking force all of these jokes down your freaking throat like Thor Love and Thunder did, and that's why it's a flipping disaster. It's like one of the worst movies of all time, honestly. So it just really was. Black Adam just really was a movie that I actually recommend. And man, if we're gonna go even further here, you had that Henry Cavill cameo, which was absolutely fantastic, and the DC is clearly showing us that DC might actually kick the living shit out of Marvel, because they're actually giving the fans what they want, and they literally are not just gonna use the sludge pipe and pump out 5 million videos. It's basically Marvel is basically a daily YouTube channel at this point, right? It's all about the content over the quality, and you're just pumping out blah 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 blah, blah 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 blah, chicka wugga 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 chicka chicka wugga wugga wugga. Whereas you're gonna have Henry Cavill show up in these future projects of DC. You're gonna have them probably Black Adam and Superman gonna fight each other. You're gonna just see this absolute entertainment pool, this black hole of just awesomeness. You're gonna see crazy stuff go down. You're gonna see something great. Whereas Marvel is just running out of ideas, and I know I have my biases right here, but honestly, man, I think I have some faith in DC because of this movie. Woo! So yeah, overall, man, Black Adam is a strong recommendation for me. It's not the best movie of all time, but it is so fun that you could honestly see yourself probably watching it a few more times at the cinema. And the trailers, the trailers make it look really average and overhyped and exaggerated and stuff like that. But no, you just have something really good. And you just, it's, oh man, I could go on all day about this, and there's people who say, I can't really cover it that much because, the story aspect, right, it's not really story heavy, so you don't really have a lot of story to go through. It's more action heavy, which makes me think that this movie reminds me of that Godzilla vs. Kong movie, where you just had this giant epic action battle thing, and it didn't really care about the story so much because you were just having a good time. And the movie recognises this. So yeah, that is my antithesis, my thoughts on Black Adam. I know I just went off about this for probably almost 10 minutes at this point. So, to get into the swing of things, right, that topic aside, Halloween. So Halloween is approaching this coming Monday, I believe. And what better place to start than to dive into Halloween, baby. So I'm gonna basically, the format for this sort of segment is I'll talk about what I think about Halloween, the ideas about Halloween, what all the stuff around Halloween. I won't talk about every single thing to do with Halloween, but I'll just give my thoughts about it. Basically, that's kind of what I want to do here, and maybe tell a couple mini-ish stories about trick-or-treating and that. So my thoughts on Halloween as a seasonal sort of occasion sort of thing. Halloween isn't my favourite time of the year because personally I've noticed I'm not really that into horror movies. I'm not really into scary stuff. Although the thing is with Halloween, right, you can literally dress up as anybody. to the point where it doesn't even matter anymore that something like they have a scary thing going on, because you can just dress up as Batman, you can dress up as Superman, Black Adam, you could dress up as anything at this point, right? So at that point, it doesn't really matter anymore. But just yeah, it just wasn't. It's just not really my time of the year. And like yeah, that's my thoughts on Halloween as a whole. Because yeah, I have mentioned that I got scared of the dark and all, and I have these fears, but I'm not that scared of the dark anymore. But yeah, like dressing up, right? Dressing up. Let's go into this. So, in terms of like dressing up, I actually think that dressing up, you do this and you dress up as a Batman, Superman, all of that, and then you go trick or treating with your friends, and then you get candy or sweeties or whatever. You collect it for these neighbours in your neighbourhood and all of that stuff, and then thing is with Scotland, right? Like whenever it was Halloween, right, it usually was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it would get really dark, and then we were like, okay, let's go trick or treating, guys, and then we would just go trick or treating all the time, and then but nowadays I don't really do that much trick or treating anymore, and I'm not one of those people saying dressing up and doing trick or treating, dressing up and all that stuff. It's not. It's for youngsters. The thing is with that, right? It's like you have people who still do these Halloween parties and stuff, so I can't really criticise people for wanting to dress up, because it is still an ongoing thing. You're never too young to dress up and that kind of thing. So on a different note, I do actually want to talk about some horror movies right now, because I think that's pretty prevalent here. So basically, recently I saw The Black Phone, and that was kind of a good movie. That was absolutely amazing, and I'm bringing this up because it is Halloween, and I kind of want to talk about this stuff. So like, The Black Phone was this movie that I actually enjoyed in all the aspects. It was an interesting concept, and it was like really philosophical, not philosophical, it was like psychological, and like it was just interesting, and you seen all these things play out, and then you seen this event go down, and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's kind of like, that's my thoughts on The Black Phone. I strongly recommend it. Like, I think it's like 90 minutes or 100 minutes long. And that's the thing with horror movies at Halloween, right? I usually watch horror movies when it's Halloween. Might have mentioned that on the show before. And do you remember when I said The Shining was like the best Halloween movie of all time? Well, it's not really. I've mentioned that in my review, like last week or something, right? Where I said that The Shining wasn't actually going to remember, because The Shining is really predictable, and so basically, like, you just see this whole thing go down. Okay, Jack Nicholson's alright, but then you just see it's getting more obvious. It's gonna get, the intensity just rises, and it just rises and rises and rises and rises and rises and rises and rises, and you just see this whole thing play out, and then you're thinking to yourself, it's like, I've already seen this. I've already seen this play out. Why the hell should I watch it again? So The Shining isn't a movie that I actually do think is good for the Halloween season as a whole. If I were, like, yeah, I would recommend Black Phone, like that. If you want to go something to do with Halloween here, go with Black Phone, because that actually is an interesting concept. Whereas, The Shining, it is just a cliche movie at that point, because, I bet, like, the suspense genre kind of feels like it's sort of been oversaturated, and how, how superhero movies they became really oversaturated and predictable and boring because of Marvel with their 59,100,006.52481.5444 sort of like movies and all of that, and all these TV shows. Well, you could say that about horror, you could say that about a lot of genres, but man, yeah, like, I'm really just, man, oh man, I'm getting really passionate tonight, man. Like, I've never been this passionate on the show in a while, which is kind of sad, really, because, I had that spree of content, and it just, So to sort of wrap up this week's episode, I think the last thing I should be talking about here is sort of like what other like there's a few things you can discuss with Halloween, because like you can see like movies at Halloween, you can go trick or treating, you can do all of that stuff, but you can't like let's see, right, like you do. Oh yeah, I just completely forgot, right? You know how like you carve the pumpkins and you leave them outside wait for people and all of that to get into the Halloween spirit, all of that stuff. Also, I do actually want to mention the fact, but I actually want to tell you guys about this movie called Thank You Machinery, which is this horror-esque movie that Tom Duncan's made, the guy that's been on the show a couple times, right? It's like basically this whole story about how this guy gets really obsessed with machinery. I'll put it in the link description. The guy gets really obsessed with machinery, and he just goes after this girl, and it's set in like this 1920s or something, and it's a really interesting story, because the thing is with this with Tom Duncan's movies, right, is that the stories, they just feel really generic, and they don't feel like the stories don't really have a lot to them, right? And it kind of goes back to Black Adam, where there's not a lot to the story, and it's more about the action and stuff. Because the Chicken Man movie that Tom Duncan's made wasn't really about the story. It was just about this whole crazy idea of the Chicken Man, and there wasn't a lot to that. And then you had the basement, which is just all of that crazy stuff. So yeah, but it's just like the Thank You Machinery, yeah, and also yeah, Tom Duncan's is in LA right now, which is an interesting one. You know, he's been sharing it with us. He's actually been to like Hollywood. He's been to like Disneyland. Oh, he's been to like Taco Bell. He's been to like In-N-Out. He's been to like these places, and we here in New Zealand, we are just going to school. We are just sitting back, listening to music, whatever the case may be, watching House of the Dragon. Who knows, right? And you just have this guy in LA having the time of his life, and then you're just like, I wish I was in LA. I wish I was having this good time. But I do feel happy for him, because this man, this guy like kind of needs a break from school. Like my friend is like, wowzers, like my friend is like he's pretty alright at school, you know. So he kind of needs that break to sort of get away from school and stuff like that. So, we've discussed like a few topics on today's show. We haven't really, maybe we might be able to revive the James Rambling show, but outside of that, what I do really want to dwell into is I'm going to actually hint towards next week's episode. I know this episode feels all over the place, but I just wanted to make this fun, right? This fun episode, because I've just had these really these episodes that need to feel chronological and be in these giant arcs of a certain genre of topic. So next week, I'm going to be making an announcement, right, about stuff, and I'm going to be doing a lot in November. So if you don't see a lot of episodes, next week's episode is going to explain exactly why the James Ramlin Show probably will not be returning until, at the latest, I believe, early December, because I'm going to be focusing on exams as well and trying my best to not fail this year. Because, if I fail this year, right, I'm going to have to, go into the workforce. And I know getting a job is probably good for me and stuff like that, because, I don't really do a lot in my life. but like it's just like, I want to see my friends and I want to just succeed at school and have a happy time at school. So why would I even want to, go out to the workforce? I know it's good for money, but like, oh my god, I'm going to be tired and I'm not going to see friends. It's going to be really depressing, just starting things on shelves or whatever the case may be. So, I hope you really enjoyed this episode. A lot of jam-packed topics. Which brings me to the conclusion, how the hell am I going to title this week's episode? Who actually knows how the hell I'm going to title this week's episode, man? So much energy tonight. So much energy indeed. I'll see you next week, making that huge announcement. Until next time, see you later. Bye! Black Adam, Halloween, all the rest of it. Indeed. Indeed.